the Galway Summer 2025 program hosted by New England Law School of Boston. So my name is Professor Bhamati Viswanathan, and I will be the director of the program this summer, which is super exciting for me. And yes, it is my first time, and it will be my first time in Galway. So I will be exploring it with any of you who come. And I'm so, these guys are smiling because they know what's awaiting us. I have with me this amazing panel of students who are as much a part of this as I am. So all of these wonderful students that you see here had attended the program, I think you all attended it last summer, right?
I did it
You did it summer before. Yes. Okay, wonderful. And I think they all uniformly had an amazing experience that I've only heard about in bits and bobs, but it sounds great. So they are really here to be a resource for you as much as I am, and they're gonna talk about and answer, hopefully, any of your questions about anything, the experience academically or just socially, or what traveling was like, or what the city was like, or what kind of things they found to do, and anything that you have to know about logistics. Let me start out by saying this is the first information session, and there will be more than one. There will definitely be a more detailed one coming up, most likely in mid-January. And we'll do some tabling sessions. There'll be some brochures as well. I told the students here in the live audience that if you give us your email, we will be sending out information for you, including the form where you sign up for the program. We're making sure that everything is perfectly done on that form before we make it live to you guys. So that should happen in the next several days. But for those of us who are playing live, if you sign up for this, we'll get you this information, or you can find it on our website on the Galway page. So what I'm going to do today, hopefully, is talk, hopefully not too long, but we'll see how long it takes me to cover all this. And I'll give you an overview of the program, and I'll give you some logistical information, including some of the key dates. And then I'm going to tell you a little bit about the activities, both inside, the academic activities obviously inside the classroom, and then the activities outside of the classroom, which in this program matter, because they're fun and exciting. They're part of the reason that you're going to Galway, I hope. If it's only for studying, well, you're a better person than I am. Okay. Some basic information I'm going to share with you on how to apply for financial aid. Yes, importantly, this program is eligible for financial aid with a couple of constraints on that. I just want to note for everyone here that this is hybrid and also being recorded. Does anyone have any objections to it being recorded? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay, you are being recorded. And because it's being recorded, you can relax and you don't have to take notes if you don't want to, because you can always watch this on, 1.5 or whatever it is people watch Zoom on these days. All right, so I'm going to start out with giving you an overview of the program. And it's really had this sort of bent toward international and comparative human rights law. That's not all there is, but that's historically been a significant part of what there is to do there. And I think that's really interesting because I think in America we have a tendency sometimes, understandably, to be focused on domestic issues and domestic law. But we're increasingly living in a global world, and international perspectives are just important in every respect possible, in every area that we do. And human rights law, of course, the EU has a long tradition of being a leader in human rights law, and I think it's a fabulous place to study it. So that's really sort of the thrust overarchingly of the program, but we're also going to talk about some of the things that we bring to the table. Let me tell you about dates and sort of the overview first. It's 2 3-week sessions. The first session is in mid-June to early July, and the second one is in mid to late July. So the first session, I have the dates here, are June 16th to July 4th. That's not quite exact because there's a move-in date. You're going to want to come a little early to get settled into your dorm or your room. And there's an orientation date that's mandatory. So you can leave about 2 days before and probably 1 day after the session to move out, which is just as hard as anyone who's ever moved knows. The second session is July 7th through July 25th. Again, with a day for orientation before, a move-in date before that, and a move-in date at the end of that. So that's basic dates. 2 3-week sessions. You can attend either the first one or the second one, or both. We've tried to structure this program for maximum flexibility, so we're giving you choices, essentially, right? So you can, some students say, well, it's earlier is better because then I can have the rest of the summer either to study for like the MPRE or whatever it is you want to do, the patent bar exam, I don't know, Or you can say, I'll take the second session, do an internship here, or finish out some coursework, or whatever it is I want to do. Or you can say, listen, I want to take both sessions, and I'm going to do both. Any of those things work for us, right, and are available to you. We partner with the University of Galway and their Center for Human Rights. So I want to tell you a little bit about, right now, an overview of the academics. So the program, like I said, focuses primarily on human rights law. And again, you can attend one or both of the sessions, and both sessions have a course that will interest you on European law, and both sessions will have a course that focuses a little bit more, or takes us its starting place, US law. It still might be comparative and go international as well. So as I said, you can take 2 courses each session. Actually, I don't think I did say that. 2 courses each session, but you can take a maximum for the 2 sessions of 3 courses. The reason for that is the ABA only allows you to get up to 6 credits for a summer. So that's not set by us, it's set by the ABA. What that means is you can take 2 + 2, 4 credits your first semester or first session, and 2 credits the second, or the other way around. You can take 1 course the first session and 2 the second, or you can just take 2 courses in 1 session. So again, flexibility is sort of the watchword here, right? You can really choose how you want to do it. So you can apply for as few as 2 or as many as 6 credits. And again, ABA rules up to 6. So all the classes are held on the campus of the University of Galway. We're partnering with them, as I said. It's the University of Galway and their Center for Human Rights. So all the classes are there. If you live in the dorms, and I'll tell you what, I think that's really your optimal choice, it's a super easy walk. We hold classes, and this is great, you guys, Monday through Thursday. Why is that great? Because all of us like our 3-day weekends, me included. And I don't get that always during the semester, but during the summer you will get 3-day weekends, which leaves you ample time to explore Galway and Ireland. And if you want, does anyone here know about Ryanair? Yeah, 15 euro flights to Paris on a 3-day weekend is just about right. So you will have 3-day weekends, and classes usually start around like 9 o'clock in the morning and end somewhere like around 2, right? So that also gives you ample time in the afternoon and evenings. And remember how far north Galway is. If you don't have a map, go check it out. It's really north, which means that in the summer, it's bright, daylight, really late. So it gives you expanses of time in which to enjoy yourselves, and maybe less time to sleep. But I think sleep is overrated, actually, so, it'll be fun. It'll be plenty of time to balance work and school. As to the classes, each professor has their own approach to grading, and as to how they give final assignments and final assessments and so on. I think it's rigorous, but probably not as rigorous as a first-year 1L class would be, which I think all of you are saying, thank goodness here, right? Because none of us are gluttons for punishment, but it will be rigorous, but it won't be impossible. It will be doable, it will be manageable work, right? So I think it will help you explore your interests and help you, whoa, sorry, did you need it louder? Did you need me to speak louder? Okay. It'll help you explore your interests and maybe shape your interests, but it's also a time for you to look at things that you hadn't maybe looked at before, in a fairly low stakes way, which I think is wonderful and often needed, because in law school, everything feels like it's high stakes, right? And this is just a little bit more chill than that. Okay, so first session, again, July 7th to July 25th. The first one course will be taught on international human rights law, and that will be taught by Dr. Adele Hughes. She is on the faculty of the University of Galway, and she's taught this course before, and I've heard it's excellent. Did any of you guys have her? Did any of you take her course? No? Okay. No. Okay, so I've heard she's great. And the second course will be a course on law and artificial intelligence, a comparative international approach. I'm not so sure about that, Professor. I've heard mixed reviews, but it's going to be me. So let me know if you have ideas about what you'd like to talk about, because sky's the limit. But I think AI is super cool. I'm teaching a new course on it next semester, and this is an international approach, which I think is really important, in part because the EU has been on the cutting edge of coming up with rules about the internet space, the digital space, the GDPR, and now rules on the treatment of AI. And we've had more trouble kind of coming to a consensus in this country. Color me shocked, right? So we're gonna talk about that. The second session is July 7th to July 25th, and we will have a course on, I'm sorry, I did backwards. The International Human Rights course will be the second session. The first session will be International Humanitarian Law, which is also referred to as the law of armed conflict, or the law of war, and that is Professors Ray Murphy and Professor Shane Darcy. Did you take them? Yeah, great, right? Yeah. I've heard great things. And that class is just, I think people are rave about it. Did you guys have them too? Loved? Great course. Loved, yeah. Okay. You can find out more about that class from these guys, but apologies for getting that backward, but International Humanitarian Law, the first session, International Human Rights Law, the second session, right? And then there will be a course on comparative constitutional law in the second session, instructor still TBD, okay, to be determined. Housing. I said earlier that I really recommend that you live on campus in the housing that we work with University of Galway to arrange for you. And that is not self-interested. We get a good rate on it, but I think part of it is just that it's gorgeous. Right? I've heard that Dunlin Village, which is where we're housing you, is the nicest dorm. Is that fair?
Yes.
Yes, and I've seen pictures. It's the newest, it's newly renovated, it's nice. You can cook in it. Yep. Tell me any of you guys cooked in it. Huh? You did! Harry cooked. Oh, I had a shot. Wait, I shouldn't even be surprised. These are my wonderful students who are amazing in every respect possible. So I shouldn't be surprised, but I am. So you can cook in there, but it's nice, it's comfortable, it's lovely. I think the rates are really as good as you're gonna get. One of the things you do need to know, you can make your own arrangements. So I'm not trying to, tell you what to do or anything, but I will advise you of this, right? You'll probably save the most money by living on campus. Galway in the summer is super popular, and it is known as a place for music and arts and festival and races and what have you. And there is very limited housing, and it's shockingly expensive, really. And you will be surprised at how, right, your dollars don't go as far as you might think. So housing's expensive, and I doubt that you'll find a better deal than this. So you don't really want to compete with the festival housing, and the crowds that come in are willing to pay anything for a crummy Airbnb or whatever, but it's up to you. The school pays the housing in advance, and then you pay us when you get your financial aid or when you're ready to pay for the entire program and so on and so forth. So you pay us back, but you don't have to pay until about 10 days before school starts, because it takes time for you to be able to get your financial aid if that's how you're going. Travel to Galway is on your own expense. Okay. For those of you who are in Boston, I know that we have people online who are not from the Boston area, and welcome to all of you who are not either from Boston or from New England. Be really glad you're not dealing with this freezing cold weather, because this is just the start. But if you're from the Boston area, the easiest way to get there is to fly from Boston Logan Airport to Shannon, which is the second airport in Ireland. It's not in Dublin, it's in Shannon, but it's a little smaller, and it's pretty easy to get from there. And we can talk about that at the next info session when you're really ready to drill down to the details, right? But you're gonna wanna get there a day before move-in and orientation. You're really gonna wanna make sure you're timing. Oh, I should say this up front, actually. You will need a passport. In case anyone didn't know, is my way of letting it. But not a visa, for those of you who are American citizens. If you're not an American citizen, you need to figure it out with your own country, right? And we could help you with that, but basically you need to find out whether or not you need a visa. But there are a fair number of Americans who don't have passports. This is not a slam in any respect, but if you don't, you need to start applying for one like today. Because it takes time. The State Department advises that it can take 6 months to get a passport, can sometimes even take more. And there were people, I think, last year and the year before who were kind of fretting until the last minute because that was in question whether they'd have a passport in time. So if you even have any idea of doing this, you should get your passport application. It's actually pretty simple to do, but make sure you have it, but you do not need a visa to go. Okay, we encourage you to register now. There's a sign-up sheet that's going to be online very soon. That's why I was asking for email addresses. We will make it available to you. We'll let you know when it goes live. It's a job form. It's super easy to fill out. Doesn't ask for a whole lot. There's a $100 deposit. What's nice is the early bird is $100, and the not early bird, the regular deposit is more. I think maybe it's like $200, and so that rate goes up next year. So lock in as soon as you can. I think the rate goes up around the very beginning of March, maybe end of February, beginning 1st of March, around that, right? So, $100, I know it's a lot, but it's not $200. So get it locked and loaded as soon as you can. And we had a lot of people sign up for this last year. So I think last year we had about 55. We may have more. We have a lot of interest this year, both from within the law school and without, which is wonderful. We are so excited if we can welcome people from other schools, and I think that's wonderful to have the cross-pollination. But that does mean, because of housing, right, we want to make sure that we can accommodate students. So it's easier for us to figure out how much housing, if we have to ask for more, if we know ahead of time how many of y'all are interested in coming. So if you're really interested in coming and you want to commit to this, commit to it as soon as you can. Sign up as soon as you can. So what else? We will have, like I said, we will have more events. We'll have tabling at the law school. We'll have another info session. It too will be live and recorded. Is it first come, first serve? Yeah, pretty much. Is there a cap of people allowed to go? I'm answering questions that are coming in online as they're coming in. There hasn't been a cap historically, and it's determined again by housing, so we'll have to talk to the University of Galway to see how many, but we've been able to accommodate 55 to 60. If we have a whole lot more than that, I will let you know at the next info session if there are any constraints. It's definitely, as you guys come in, as we see the interest, we will be thinking about this, right, and working accordingly. So let's see. Has anyone done a summer internship and then done the program? I believe they have. Yes, I believe that is possible, right? I also just want to say, and maybe this is just a crazy thought, but if you take 6 credits over the summer, when you go into your 3L year, if there's something you really want to take, you've knocked 6 credits off of your required load. That's kind of nice. So if there's an internship that comes up and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to take 15 more credits to do X, that's harder. Whereas if you do 6 credits over the summer, or even 4 credits, it helps. Yes, you do pay by credit. I'm not going to go into all the details on the finances of this, right, because they're kind of still getting squared away, but I'll give you approximate estimates based on last year. I don't think it's going to go up much over last year. So last year it was $825 a credit. I don't think it's going to be more than maybe 10, 15, 20% at the most, more than that, but maybe not. So don't hold me to these numbers. I will definitely have the numbers for you as soon as we know. But it's around $825 a credit, and I think last year housing was around 60 euros a night, which that varies depending on the exchange rate. So we can do the math together, and again, this information will be available when our site goes live. Also, information about financial aid and how you apply for it, how you qualify, what you do, what are the hoops you have to jump through. Our financial aid office is working on getting that together, so you will know that as well in the very near future. So, in order to be able to be eligible for financial aid, though, this is a non-changing feature. You have to take at least 3 credits. You can't just take 1 course for 1 session, because each course is 2 credits. So if you want to be eligible for financial aid, you'll have to take 2 courses, at least. Okay? Just want to make sure we really make that clear. Okay. One more thing about acceptance. You do have to be in academic good standing, which is why we let you usually know about whether or not you've accepted around January, usually, when grades come out and when the registrar tells us who's in good standing. And for those of you watching from home who are not from New England Law, we will need a letter from you, from your institution, not you personally or your mom, your institution, saying that you are in academic good standing, and usually they are perfectly happy to issue that letter in the appropriate circumstances, and as soon as the grades come out, they can get you that letter to us. And we do check that just to make sure. But that's the bottom line requirement for everybody, whether at New England or elsewhere. We just, here at this school, you don't need a letter because we're in touch with our registrar, but elsewhere you will have to send us a letter. Usually a really pretty pro forma thing. Let me see if there's anything else that I just want to tell you logistically. We give you a letter when you go into Ireland saying that you're coming for this program, which you can show when you're coming into the country, so they will not hassle you about visa requirements or anything else. You wouldn't require a visa anyway, but this sort of just tells them what you're doing there, and you show your passport in the letter, and then you're all completely okay. So there's no need to worry on any of that logistical stuff. We do really try to structure this program so that you can, to answer that first question, right, that you can do an internship, a summer internship, on the front end of the program or the back end of the program. So you do it, in the end of, our classes end fairly early in New England, like, so you could do something over May and then beginning of June, or you could do something in July, right? Or you could say, well, I'm going to do at the back end and just go until July 4th, and a lot of internships do start right after July 4th weekend, and then you could do that as well. So we're trying to talk about this in a way that makes sense and that's fair to you guys. And if you have issues or you're concerned about sort of should I or shouldn't I, and what's the pros and cons of studying abroad versus internship or whatever else, I'm here. You can come and talk to me. I'm on the 4th floor. My name is on the website, and you can email me, reach out to me however you like, text me, whatever. I have no problem with texting. So I'm here for you if you want. Don't tweet at me because I don't do X. Other than that, I'm good. All right. Housing, we've talked about. I want to talk about some fun stuff. I think the academics are fun, but okay, let's get real. What's really fun? The activities and the events, right? These folks are going to really be having the most information and insights as to that, but you don't have to participate in any of the events. If you just want to, go hiking on your own every weekend, that is great. If you want to go pub crawling every weekend, that's great too. That'll be my answer. Okay, but if you want to, we have events that are fun and that we do together and that are a really great way to bond and a great way to see some things. So we have 2 events per session. And I'm not always sure how they're broken up, but usually you can attend 1 or 2 or all of them, or if you're here for both sessions, you can certainly attend all the events. And what are they? So we have an evening dinner and a river cruise on the Corb River with Irish music and dancing. And I heard that last year's was so dope. Is that not true? Who danced? Who danced?
I think almost everyone did.
Everyone danced. I heard it was just an incredible time. The music was amazing. So evening dinner and cruise, nice and easy. They'll probably be a Friday evening. We have a day trip to the Aran Islands, which are right off the coast of Galway. I have seen many of y'all wearing your Aran Island sweaters to my class, so I happen to know that that's a thing, and they're really nice looking. So that is a day trip. We have a trip to the Cliffs of Moher, which are gorgeous, stunning, beautiful, green, lush, and historic, and one of the most worth things seeing, right? I think TripAdvisor has them ranked as number 1, I'm sure. And a trip to the super spectacular Connemara National Park. And if any of you were obsessed as children by horses, not named Bhamati Viswanathan, I just want to tell you, the Connemara wild horses and donkeys are famous in all of children's literature about horses. And I think I owned every single book about them. So it's beautiful, it's amazing hiking. Again, you can go on your own too, or instead of, but these are trips. We do 2 trips per session. Just want to say about travel one thing. If you haven't lived in Europe or spent any time there, one of the things you'll find spectacularly nice about Ireland particularly, it's so easy to get places. It's so easy and cheap to get. Ryanair, God bless Ryanair, man. That guy, I think he gave a building to the University of Galway. But it's 15 euros to get to Paris for a weekend trip. But also just traveling around Ireland is easy. It's beautiful. People, I think, are so nice. And you can explore. So you're not locked out of Dublin. You can have the best of both worlds, live in gorgeous Galway. That's my phone. I don't even have friends on here. So scared. Right, so you can take real advantage of that on the 3-day weekends. Some people build in a few days, weeks, whatever, before or after, just to travel, which is insanely possible. But you really want to maximize your time, schedule your weekends to do things, or just go for a bike ride, go for a hike, go explore pubs around the area. A really important part of doing something like this in the summer is exploring where you are in a different world. And if you haven't had a chance to do that, I found it transformative. I think it's just part of the reason I agreed to be the director of this program is because I just think travel changes us. And in every way possible, I've been changed by all the places I've lived in and all the travel I've been so fortunate to have. So I want you to think of this as an incredible educational opportunity, but also an opportunity to expand and grow personally. And I think the students who are sitting up here sharing the podium with me can speak to that better than I can. So I've been speaking a long time. I don't see, are there any more questions online that anyone would like to ask? Please feel free to toss them into the online questions. But let's see if are there any questions from the audience as well? Yes.
I was just wondering, for the events that you guys do is that like an additional cost, or is that incorporated into the price of the trip?
It's incorporated.
It's included. Yes.
I wanted to know, like, for the $100 deposit, if you don't end up going or aren't selected, is it refunded, or is it kind of like you pay and you just hope you get in?
You know what deposits are. No, I'm teasing. First let me repeat the question that was asked just in case our Zoom audience didn't get it. Sorry about that. So the first question was, are the costs for the excursions included? And the answer is yes. Okay, sorry. Second question is the deposit refundable? And the answer is no. Okay. There is also a question online. Hang on a second. When is the deadline to apply, and what does the application entail? The application right now is going to be a one-page application with the deposit, and then there'll be an application coming up. And on that application, it'll state the deadline, right? So there will be rolling applications, but as I said earlier on, the earlier you get your application in, the better chance of you have of getting included in the program. If there's a cutoff number, it's gonna, I will say this, right? With the amount of attention and excitement that we've had, I'm going to say that it's going to fill up pretty fast. I wouldn't bet against that, right? So I would say sooner. And I don't have a deadline yet, but there will be one. But all that will be available on the website once we've got things firmed up. Do I know which events will be for which session? As I said, no, I don't. It does vary a little bit from year to year. But I think that last year the River Cruise and the Aran Islands were on the same session, is that right? They were first, right? Yeah. And then the second ones were the visit to the Cliffs of Moher and the Connemara National Park, okay? When does the application open up? Soon. I hope that was helpful. Okay, we're working on it. We're working on finalizing things. We're working on finalizing with Galway as well. So their housing office has to finalize their numbers and their everything for us as well. We don't want to give you this piecemeal. We're going to give this to you all in one go, and it will be relatively soon, but now we want to bring you up to speed on what's going on. Go ahead.
For the purpose of safety, if we decide to take like a weekend trip to like France, do we have to let you guys know? This way you guys know like what's going on with us, or is that just something that we're just...
For the purposes of safety, do you guys need to let us know whether you're traveling?
Yes.
Please don't.
Okay.
I'm totally joking, but no, of course not. You are all adults, I hope. Pause for reflection, yes. No, you definitely don't. You could if you wanted to. If you want to leave some contact information, say with me, that's totally fine. You will find, for the most part, that it's really safe to travel in Europe and in the UK. But I totally understand and respect your concern, right? And if you have concerns, we can talk about ways too to make you feel like you've got someone watching your back, where somebody that you could call. You really could call or text me, on a weekend and say like, please help me. But I will not bring you your passport unless you're like in Paris. I might reconsider that, right? No, I think that most everyone has had really good experiences traveling on their own. And we can get you, the numbers if you need to have a doctor, if you need to have a doctor that you can be able to reach, we should be able to get those things for you, okay? Yes, you had another question.
I was just wondering if you could repeat the courses for each session.
Yes,
I think I got those a little mixed up.
The courses for each session. And by the way, if you want to go on our website right now, all the information for Galway 2024 is up there. And so it's pretty much a repeat of that, so you can find it there.
Okay.
So, but I'll of course happily give you them. The first session, June 16th to July 4th, the course taught by the Galway folks is called International Humanitarian Law, which is also known as the Law of Armed Conflict, or sometimes some people call it the Law of War, frankly. And it's taught by Professors Ray Murphy and Shane Darcy. And then my Law and AI class, the comparative international approach to law and artificial intelligence. And then the second session, July 7th to July 25th, International Human Rights Law, taught by Dr. Adele Hughes. And the comparative constitutional law, where they compare how different constitutions evolve. I took that in law school, and it is really fascinating. So, really fascinating, because we think of our Constitution as the only way that constitutions go, and it certainly is not. And some are emerging, which is also really interesting. Yes?
I wanted to know, but this might be more of a question for the students, if you found like it was hard to get an internship and do this, or if it like negatively impacted you in any way, especially for like getting jobs.
Okay,
after.
before anyone jumps in, let us now segue to you guys asking questions, all of you online and live, to our incredible students, because I have talked way too long, and that is a perfect segue, so thank you. So the question on the table was, and I don't know if anyone here has experience, but how did this affect summer internships or internships in general? Do you mean, yeah, internships in general? What kind of impact did this have on you? Did it change anything for you all? Does anyone have? Okay, Raquel first. Hang on, I'm gonna pass the mic over. And Raquel de los Santos did this program 2 years ago, and she's gonna be answering first.
Alrighty, I guess from my experience, it's a little bit different. I am an evening student, so I had a job before going to Galway and had one afterward, so I just saved up my vacation time. And now that I've left that job and they see that in the summertime, I put the Galway down as something I did over the summer. People are always fascinated by that, asking me what it is I learned there, the cultural experience, that whole bit, but you shouldn't have any problems. If anything, employers will be more like, oh, tell me about this experience.
Wonderful. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Our next speaker, Matthew Zwolinski, is going to take this one.
Hi guys. So I know one of my roommates that was in Galway with us. He had an internship that he was working remotely over the summer, and like Professor Viswanathan mentioned before, the courses that you're going to be taking there aren't like extremely arduous. I mean, it's stuff to do, but it's not going to take up all your time. So he was able to have a good time in Galway in Europe, do the course load, and also have an internship at the same time. I was fortunate enough to where the internship that I had allowed me to put a pause, and I was able to go for the 6 weeks. But like what was just brought up previously, I think if you go and put this on your resume, it's extremely attractive to employers, because when I came back and started interviewing for internships this coming summer, that was like the third or fourth question that they asked about me. So definitely, it's manageable, and I don't think it hinders your ability to find a job at all. Right?
Anyone else? Okay. Next question for our students. Please ask them questions. They're dying to answer. Yes.
I have another question, I'm so sorry.
Don't apologize. Questions are great.
How do you pick or is it assigned who you're gonna end up being in a room with? If you're selected, your roommate situation, because
That's a really good question. These two guys chose to room with each other, but they're both awesome, so they knew they'd work out. And they're still alive to tell the tale, so I guess that worked out. I actually don't know. That's a really good question. Can I get back to you on that?
Actually, we do know.
You
Sorry.
do know,
Yeah.
they know. Okay, good.
Yeah, so last year was Professor Hansen who ran the program, and we just emailed him and was just said, we'd prefer to live with these guys, and he was like, all right, got it. And then we got there's the housing situation we were in was 6 people. So I emailed Professor Hansen for Harriet and another one of our buddies, John, and we got paired with 3 other people, and we all hit it off instantly. Also, the people that are willing to make the commitment to go to Galway, the group that you're going to go with is going to be phenomenal because they're willing to go and take this opportunity to go to Europe, and you're going to meet fun people. So even if you don't know anyone on this trip, you're going to meet people that you're going to be friends with. I get not like 6 to 8 more friends because of the trip.
Question?
Yeah, of course.
Is there like a list that's gonna come out where you know who's going on the trip, so you can kind of like talk to them before you go and then be like, I want to room with these people?
Yeah, I just used the, like when they sent the blast email out, I just looked at the emails, but I'm sure there's more.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Follow up to your or her question
Yes.
Can I
is.
let me just repeat the question.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because, sorry, it's just hard for, I think our TV audience can't always hear the questions. So one of the questions was, you know, how do you pick your roommate, or do you get to? And it sounds like Harry, right there, and Matt Zwolinski, right here, and John Sirio. I would never have let the three of you live together. That is my, like, idea. They were in my con law class.
Yeah, sit
Oh
next to each
my
other.
gosh, sitting next to each other, rolling their eyes side-eyeing every day. So no. So you don't get to, I'm not sure if you actually get to pick, but you do get to see the email blasts and choose perhaps if there's somebody on there that you like. And one of the, and the other part of the answer was, you'll just find through selection bias people who have signed up to do this, that people are pretty cool. Again, too, 3 weeks, not a huge fear there, or even 6 weeks. I'm sure that the housing office can work with things they probably have before, right? And what was the other question?
How he knew.
Oh, how he knew.
Yeah.
And the question was, how did you know who's going? And the answer was, I looked at the email blast and looked at email addresses. Okay, next question.
I was just gonna ask, like, what is the room setup? Is there like doubles? Is there triples? Is there quads? Is there?
Yeah, the question was about room setups. Harry.
So you get your own room, and it's like the nicest room that I've ever lived in. You have a big bed. You have there's a common room with a kitchen and a couch and a TV, and your individual rooms all have bathrooms, showers, windows, and there's also we had housekeeping also,
Incredible. There's so
What?
much.
which
It
is
was incredible. Every day, too. Right?
Every
it was
day.
every day. I think it was weekly.
Oh, never mind.
But it was like living in a better hotel, honestly.
So I've been to Ireland before, and if you've been there, you know you have to heat up the water to have it a warm temp. In these apartments, you didn't have to do that, so it was kind of nice.
I suspect some people don't know that you have to heat up the water in some places in order to get it warm, but it is in fact true. But I've seen pictures of Dunlin Village, and I've talked to Professor Hansen, my predecessor, and he says it's truly nice. And not only is it really nice, like I said, you know, food is not as cheap as you think when you go abroad, and you're not gonna, I know we have, you know, Grubhub and Getter and all the rest. Well, you're not going to want to do that there. It's expensive, it's not worth it, and basically the food is great when you go out, but even when you go to the grocery stores, grocery store tourism is one of the coolest things ever. You just want to see what other people eat, and then you figure out the biscuits that they love, and you bring them home in your suitcase and top up every time you go back, right? So Carr's biscuits are like 14,000 times more expensive in the US, and you're going to get addicted to them, and then you're going to want to carry them home, which is kind of fun. So you got a kitchen to do that in. You got space to explore in it from. The views are beautiful, and it's an easy walk to campus, and it solves weekly housekeeping.
Yeah.
That is
No,
sweet. Oh my gosh. I'm excited about that. Yes.
So for my undergrad, I studied abroad, and one of the things that were provided to us were student ambassadors from the country that we were visiting. The reason being is because it's a new country, different customs, things like that. Is that something that's provided to us?
Where were you?
Ireland. I studied abroad in India.
Oh, nice. Cool. Are there student ambassadors? I don't think so, but honest to God, have you ever met Irish people? They're like the warmest, friendliest, nicest people in the world. They will walk you back to your dorm at 1 o'clock in the morning and tell you stories. Like, they are truly, I am not joking, they are so warm. Am I wrong? No. See, am I wrong? Am I not right? They are really friendly and warm. Okay, you're in an English-speaking country, which is helpful. I mean, not like India doesn't have plenty of people who speak English, but it's very manageable. It's a small town. It's friendly. It's chill. You're in school at University of Galway. You can meet people from the uni. I think you'll find that you don't really need ambassadors. You will be your own ambassador. And if you're not your own ambassador, go to a pub for about 2 hours and you will have like 10 new best friends. And if you don't, that's on you, okay? No, it's really friendly. It is really a warm and welcoming place. And they're used to having people because that city has such an international draw, right? It has incredible music. It has incredible, it's like one of the epicenters of great Celtic music. If you like music, everybody who knows me knows how much I love music. There's music and art all the time, right?
Yeah, I cannot I've been to a good amount of places in Europe and in Asia too. I cannot overstate how friendly Irish people are. It's actually insane. And as soon as they find out you're American, it's over. Because like, we were there when, during the elections, we got a lot of questions about that. Now that it's over, you're not going to be hit with those. They are just fascinated about Americans. They want to know about you. And blew up my ego a little bit, felt a little important.
Oh, like you needed them. Oh my gosh. All right, next question.
I was just gonna ask, besides like personal travel, do you guys remember like on average what the cost of the trip was in total, just like housing and travel and the trip in general?
So the question was, does anyone remember what the cost, all-in cost in total was for the whole time? Does anyone remember?
Ballpark even?
Like with like going on trips and stuff, like paying for food.
Yeah, I mean whatever answer you have, yeah.
I want to say maybe what like 10 years.
So I have a little rough number here, right, from last year. It was around, for both sessions, okay, around $1,600 for housing, around $1,200 for board, around $1,400 for airfare and local transportation, and then around $600 for miscellaneous and personal expenses, and then $825 per credit, and I think ballpark around like $150 for books, but that's going to vary a lot, right? So I can have this posted for you all on the website, for sure. But we will have more detailed numbers when we know what the 2025 costs are. I do think, though, that some of those numbers, are really variable depending on what you choose to do, right? So local transportation is going to vary depending on how much you want to travel around. Do you want to get a train pass? Do you want to fly places? Do you want to do puddle jumpers? What do you want to do? And your personal expenses will vary as well depending on, what your lifestyle choices are. But housing's pretty fixed. You will find that food's a little more expensive than you might realize. It's good, but it ain't cheap. Beers, on the other hand, yay. Not as bad as, wait, your generation doesn't drink, right? So I'm told. All right, I saw another question. Yes, go ahead.
I wanted to know, if you end up doing both sessions, do you just stay in the dorm?
Yes, if you want to do both sessions, you stay in the dorm. You don't have to move out and move back in and all the rest. You just stay. Yes.
Would you say the majority of people do the 3 weeks or the 6 weeks?
The question was, would I say the majority of people do the 3 weeks or the 6 weeks? It's hard to say historically, right? So last year, they required people to do both sessions. That is not the norm. That was an outlier. And it varied fairly considerably from before COVID to after COVID. So I think it depends on what people have, what else their priorities are, what their financial aid. So it varies pretty significantly. And I also think that you should just go with what makes sense for you, right? Which I'm sure you know. Okay. More questions? Don't you have questions for these guys about what they did and how they liked it? Or yeah, go ahead.
I have 2 small questions. Is that the place where we stay?
That behind me, which I don't know if you guys on the website can see, but that is the school. That is the beautiful University of Galway, Ireland. darn it, I can't move the picture for you guys on the screen, but it is, it's gorgeous. Yeah, it's your standard beautiful European university with that's the quadrangle. And there is the Center for Human Rights, the Center for International Human Rights, where some students can go. You can certainly go to it. You can go inside of it. You can go study in it if you want to, whatever. Some students go, some students don't go. I think there were several students. I don't think it was really heavily used, but it's all accessible to you. Right? It's so pretty. Yes.
Where was your favorite place that you visited on a weekend trip when you were there?
Where was your favorite place that you visited on a weekend trip? Thomas Mello has his hand up. Go.
My favorite spot was Dingle, right in the southern of Ireland. They have a brewery there. They have one of the best gins. So I drank a lot and went to the beach a lot. And I think that was my best weekend.
And you remember it?
Oh,
yes.
Matt and I went to London, England, for one weekend, and I think that was the best trip that we've taken.
How come?
Well, we had a really wonderful dinner, me, Matt, and John did. It's just a beautiful city. It's like New York with a lot of gold. There's Big Ben is just made out of gold. It's the culture is really nice, and there's parks everywhere. It just felt really good to be in the city again.
Yeah, London's incredible. My mom met me in Spain for a weekend, so that was cool to do with her. But on like a friends thing, London was incredible.
I went to Dublin for a weekend, or really Friday, and then I was able to take a day trip up to Belfast, saw the Giant's Causeway, went up and saw the Titanic Museum, and some other things, but I would say that was the best trip. Met some really cool people. The Irish are really, really friendly, so yeah.
Anyone? Yeah.
Not to be a pessimist, but what's one thing you guys wouldn't recommend that we do?
Okay, what's one thing you wouldn't recommend, if any? Study.
I would say I wouldn't recommend having expectations. You know, go into it with a very clear mind. If you put in your head you'll have a good time, you'll have a good time. If you put you won't. There was someone on our trip that just talked about how much better the U.S. was and this whole thing while they were there, and you know clearly their time wasn't good. But just go in there, no expectations, and you'll be blown out when you get back.
I think that's really wise. I think that's really beautiful. It's really true. You know, things are what you make them, but they're also, you know, you go in just thinking you know things, and when you're, like you say, when your mind's clear, when you go in just open to things, open to encounters too. I would say, like, as Americans, we are conditioned to think certain ways, right? I was really lucky to get to travel when I was really young, and it knocked a lot of sort of American-centricness out of me, I think, you know? And I still really, really love this country a lot, but when I was that age, I thought that it was just the only greatest place ever. And I think if you leave yourself open to seeing what's great about other places, you'll see what's great about other places, and you'll realize that there are choices, right, that we can all make, and you can bring some of those home with you. I think this is a cool place to break, you guys, because I really wanted to say how much I appreciate you turning out on a Thursday afternoon before the last or second to last week of classes, when everyone is completely and totally, taking deep breaths and trying to keep their head above water. But I think this is a fabulous thing that we have to offer. I love the fact, thank you so much to the folks who are not at New England Law. I love the fact that you're looking at us, because I think our students are second to none. They're amazing, and interacting with them will enrich your lives in ways you don't even realize. And I look forward to seeing all of you guys, at least considering Galway, and thank you very much for coming. My name is Professor Viswanathan. You can find me on the website. You can find me under the Galway page, but you can also find me on the 4th floor. And as any of you who've had me know, my door really is open to you. I'm happy to answer questions either now afterwards or during my office hours on Thursdays. Thank you so much.